afternoon, everyone. I see some familiar faces we saw just last evening. Thank you so much for your commitment and support to return today to share and exchange some critical information as we work together to support our commitment to high performance. So thank you for attending the Superintendent of Schools Parent-Teacher Advisory Meeting. We certainly thank you for all that you do on behalf of our entire school district. And so we would like for you to engage today, share critical information that you deem appropriate for us to work on, and you will also hear from the superintendent as we share some highlights about the great things that we're working on within our school district. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome to the podium our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Morris J. Beasley.
Thank you, Clayton. Good afternoon, everyone. Who was with us yesterday? So she's got to deal with or rehear everything that we've already shared. Hello, hello, hello. That's okay. Very good. But we have an agenda here, and we promise not to keep you very long. We know it's a church night, and it's raining too, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go to church or go home. So, and I'm hungry. That's not a good combination, is it? So, thank you to those who came last night. So today you'll hear again what we shared yesterday. But for those who were not here, this will be an opportunity for you to give us some thoughts and feedback, and hopefully to think about some actions you can take or you will take as you leave here, as we move our district forward. People often ask the question, what are you all doing to improve the school system? And I often say that's a very complex question because there's not one thing you can do. There are several things that you've got to do that work in concert with each other. And clearly all of it requires leadership, good staff, etc. in order to get done. Parents and teachers and principals and central office people all working together to move a school system forward. And so today I'd like to just discuss a few of the items that I think are very critical to moving our school system forward, and hopefully we can garner your support. The first thing is the advanced learning expectations. And so today we had a wonderful conversation with our students, not the first time, but a series of conversations we love having with our students. We were able to again share with them our advanced learning expectations. And so you should know that we're in the process. I know all of you have heard by now. If you've not gotten an email, that means you're probably not on our email list, and you should be. You should be. But we have shared advanced learning expectations with everyone. Let's make sure, if you're not, just make sure that Nikki at the table knows, and she'll make sure you're added to the email list, okay? So the first area, the first topic is advanced learning expectations. We've decided as a district to really accelerate our outcomes, realizing that if we keep doing what we have been doing, we'll probably continue to get the same results we've been getting. And so we've decided to look at our data, look at our resources, our teachers, our students, our parents, our community, figure out exactly what do we need to do to accelerate outcomes. Instead of just 25% of our kids doing well, I need 100% of our kids doing well and performing at higher levels. And so we decided to move away from the remediation mindset and put on the acceleration mindset. With that being stated, we've decided as a district that we're going to move all of our kids towards advanced learning opportunities. The goal is actually to accelerate wherever they are. If they're a grade level behind, 2 years behind, 3 years behind, that's okay. The research says instead of being remediation minded, you should be acceleration minded, and kids improve significantly more when you start accelerating kids. And that's what we decided to do. So we said, what are we doing to accelerate? We're taking it a little bit at a time. We'll call this our phase one, right? But we've decided to make some very strategic changes in phase one. First change, all rising sixth graders will take accelerated math. You say, what is accelerated math? It is this. In the sixth grade, you'll get all of sixth grade math and half of seventh grade math. In the seventh grade, you'll get the second half of seventh grade math and all of eighth grade math. In the eighth grade, you're now ready to take algebra. So you can be prepared. You can go to high school with at least a credit in algebra, or if you need an additional year, you can go into accelerated algebra in the 9th grade. So again, all rising 6th graders will take accelerated math, which means they'll get all of 6th grade math plus half of 7th grade math. All of the other half of 7th grade math plus all of 8th grade math. And in the 8th grade, they'll take algebra. In the process of doing that, we're working with our teachers to really narrow the standards that we need to teach, because we realize that all of those standards we spend so much time on, we really don't have to spend that much time on. And so while it's accelerated, it's going to really provide us an opportunity to go a little deeper. And we're going to prepare within 2 years all of our 6th graders to take algebra for high school credit. And if they seem to need another year after the 8th grade, that's okay. Some kids do. They'll be able to go into accelerated algebra, accelerated 9th grade math, which gives them another year of that algebra. Toward the expectation that all of our students will have the opportunity, whether they take the opportunity or not will be up to them and their parents, they will have the opportunity of completing math at what I would suggest, the research would suggest, the best level to complete high school math would be AP Calculus or AP Statistics. They will have that opportunity. So that's one of the expectations. In the future, you will hear more about more 8th graders taking physical science, and you will hear more about all of our high school students expected to take physics as one of their science courses. Somebody said, "Oh, why would you do your students in that manner?" Because we've got to train our kids to problem solve. We've got to train them in the STEM areas, and we need them prepared for these opportunities. You say, well, they may go to college, they may not. They may not go to college, but it's our responsibility to ensure that if they choose not to go, it's a choice. It's not because they weren't prepared to go. So that's one thing we're doing relative to rising 6th graders. As we move along, going to the high school, what are we doing to raise expectations for our rising high school students? Starting next year, our rising 9th graders will be expected to take at least one advanced learning course. That could be dual enrollment, advanced placement, etc. But at least one advanced learning course. We're working with College Board. You should know that they're responsible for advanced placement, SAT, ACT. We're working with the National Math Science Initiative towards identifying, in your brochure, we've identified the courses that they believe that a student who's never had AP could do pretty well in as a 9th grader. And so you'll see courses that we're preparing for our rising 6th graders. You'll see courses we're preparing for our rising 8th graders and courses for our rising 9th graders. Clearly, we've got to continue to train teachers. That's part of the plan. We've got to make sure that our resources are aligned to these expectations. Our support for students clearly has to be where it needs to be. All of these are considerations as we move towards not just high expectations for a few students, but we're moving towards high expectations for all students. Someone says, when you say all, do you mean all? Yes, we do mean all. But I'll tell you this, that if we shoot for 100% and land at 80%, it's a whole lot better than where we are at 10%. That's the goal, and we need to increase our expectations. I'm confident that our principals, working with our counselors, our students and parents, will be able to provide our students the opportunities that we know that they need. Even the research says that they need in order to be prepared for college and careers. So in our mind, it doesn't matter if they go to a 4-year college, a 2-year college, or a specialty school where they're not necessarily earning a degree, but they're earning some type of certification, some type of certificate, etc. We want our kids prepared to do very well. And we know that a rigorous classroom instructional experience increases the likelihood of those students not only being accepted, but being successful once they take advantage of those opportunities within that first year. So, in summary, those are our advanced learning expectations. At the elementary level, you should know and you should expect to see starting next year, all of our students engaged in some type of problem-based learning. All of them. They will be determining what problems they want to solve, whether it be climate change, some type of global issue, some type of community issue, and they will be going through a process of solving problems. That will require them to do research. It will require them to communicate or convey their outcomes. All about kids. It won't just be a few kids expected to do that. Those who are in the gifted track or the honors track, but all kids will have that experience. Will that challenge us? It is already challenging us because we've got to change our practices. The day when you just come into a classroom and the teacher is doing all the talking and all the performing, if you will, those days are over. We've got to engage our students to think critically, to be creative, to collaborate, and to communicate. We've got to teach them how to solve problems. The employers, as I meet with the employers in this area that are members of our chamber, and even those who are not members of the chamber, they're very clear and consistently clear that we've got to get more young people who know how to think, who knows how to think, who know that young people should know how to not just think, but they've got to know how to be creative, invent and create solutions. They've got to know how to collaborate, work in teams, and they've got to know how to communicate their findings. And so we're working as a district to shift at every level what instruction looks like for our students. And so this is just the start. Advanced learning. We decided to rebrand ourselves. So it won't be, oh, you can just go to Clayton County. No, when you come to Clayton County, you're coming to a school district that has high expectations of its students, a school district that has high expectations, not just for some students, depending on what income level they come from, or if their parents can get them into some type of special program, etc. No, it's for all students. All students. So it's rather bold, rather ambitious. We'll have some growth pains, I'm sure. But is it the right thing to do for all kids? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You say, well, they may struggle. Yeah, they may. But when will the struggle kill us? It will not kill us. We will provide support. Our parents will be providing support. Principals and teachers and others will be working together. Our kids are resilient. Productive struggle is good. We expect them to rise to the level of our expectations. Oftentimes people ask, well, how are they doing right now? And I can assure you, children are rising to whatever level of expectations that we have. So if we have low expectations, then we should not be surprised if they rise to what? Low expectations. And so we're raising the expectations using advanced learning in our school system. So that's the first topic. I want you to take time, if you will, to read it. The second topic is the budget. So we're in the process of developing the fiscal year 20 budget. As you well know, last year we had to balance the budget. We had to basically freeze salaries. We had to ensure that we basically increase teacher-student ratios. We had to cut operational expenditures where we could, sometimes up to 50% or even more, just depended on whether or not we could do that, and also maintain effort as required by some federal programs. So we're in a different place this year. We're looking better. Our finances are looking stronger. So this year, as we develop the budget, we're looking at all of our revenues. We're looking at all of the expenditures. And we're possibly considering some increases clearly for our lowest paid employees, which would be bus drivers, custodians, lunchroom workers, and clearly the governor has promised an increase for teachers, so we're looking at how that impacts Clayton County. So we're going through a few scenarios where we are looking at some increases for our certified teachers as well. So clearly those expenditures, even the ones promised by the governor, those promises come with an expense, and so we're looking at our bottom line to make sure that not only once we provide an increase for next year, that we can also sustain that increase. That's important. So if you bump up everybody's salary for next year, you got to make sure you can maintain that or sustain that every other year thereafter. And so more to come relative to the budget. I would encourage you to come to the board meetings. And I'm thinking at the end of April, we'll probably present to the Board of Education our tentative budget. And it will reflect whatever efforts that we believe fiscally we can implement in order to support the work that we're doing to raise expectations and to recruit, retain the best employees. Right now, you should know Clayton County is about number 3 in the metro area when it comes to teacher pay. We love to get to number 1. We love to get to number 1. But beyond teacher pay, I believe a culture of high expectations has a way of serving as a magnet. It draws people, effective, high-performing teachers to your school system. And then once we draw them, we recruit those individuals, we like to retain them to stay in Clayton County and provide teaching and instruction to our students. And so, more to come relative to fiscal year 20 budget. The last topic on the agenda is the SPLOS program. You should know that we're currently winding down SPLOS 5. It ends in December of this year. And in order to maintain or to keep the revenue from the SPLOS coming into the district, we have to vote again. That vote will occur on March 19th of this year. March 19th of this year. So in a few months, we will vote. And so Jaden has teed up a video, and I believe you may have already received this video. I think it was sent today, but we'd like
As we
to show it to
continue
you
to
right now.
grow our community in our pursuit of high performance, let's take a moment to review some of the work we've done, how we've done it, and how we plan to continue to improve our district through the use of SPLOS. In this SPLOS 5 period alone, we built entirely new campus buildings with the funds we received, such as Elise Scholars Academy, East Clayton Elementary School, and the competition gymnasium at Riverdale High School. We have worked to renovate and modify our existing buildings with projects at 17 campuses and facilities throughout the district, including improvements in many of our schools' heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. We've made improvements to general technology resources, and we're using SPLOS 5 funds to finance the first phase of extending learning beyond the classroom. Our goal, to place a Chromebook in the hands of each student, grade 3 through 12, by the end of the 2022 school year. School buses, maintenance vehicles, textbooks, and other instructional resources. SPLOS 5 has funded new purchases for all of these for our growing and expanding district and has been since 2015. As we look forward and plan for SPLOS 6, we are proposing 3 new STEM schools, Morrow High, Forest Park Middle, and an elementary school in the Lovejoy area, a college and career academy, as well as an early learning center. We will also look to continuing extending learning beyond the classroom. With expanding into phase 2, we have hopes of making this innovative initiative a vibrant part of our instructional program. Finally, we plan to continue the purchase of new school buses, textbooks, and other instructional resources, along with various facility renovation projects across the district. This has been what we've done, how we've done it, and how we plan to continue to improve our district through the use of SPLOS.
So that, again, that was sent to everyone, and please feel free to share it and post it on your various websites, social media platforms, etc. So while as a staff we're very clear that we cannot tell you how to vote, we are very clear as to what the projects will be. So again, as you heard in the video, we're looking at a new elementary school in the Lovejoy area to accommodate the growth. We've got many residential communities that are coming online, apartment complexes in that area, so we're getting ahead of the growth in that area. We're looking at a new Forest Park Middle School, and if you don't know, you should know Forest Park Middle is one of the oldest middle schools in the county. It's time for a new middle school, and so that is a plan. If we receive funds from SPLOS 6, that is a plan to tear down and build up on the current site for Forest Park Middle School. And then, of course, Morrow High School, it's time for a new school there, and that new high school will be built on the same campus as the as the East Campus, East Clayton Elementary School campus. You should know, along with the Morrow High School comes a 6,000-seat arena that allows us to host our graduation, so we no longer have to go to the Georgia International Center for that. Also, we'll build our first district-wide college and career and everyone away from that building. Some of the portions of it will be torn down, there will be some new portions built, but a lot of it that we can keep will be basically renovated. And that new academy will serve all high schools, 8th through 12th grade students. We will have innovative programs such as aviation, artificial intelligence, logistics and transportation, sports medicine, along with sports officiating, etc. Those are just a few of the programs that we will have at the new college and career academy. As the video shared, we'll continue with our extending learning, actually extended, not extended, extending learning beyond the classroom, where we are providing a Chromebook to all 3rd through 12th grade students. So far, we've done it 4 schools, 1,000 students, and our goal with the receipt of these funds, as funds roll in and are available, is to expand that to all 3rd through 12th grade students at all schools. And so, more to come in that regard. We should know that we expanded we rolled out phase 1, and we thought we'd have a lot of kids and families that needed internet. So we built into our rollout a provision for internet access. We only had 2 families that needed internet access when we issued 1,000 devices. And so that's a pretty good thing to know. Even though we'll continue to prepare for families that may need internet services, and we have various options for that, I just want you all to know that not only are we putting a Chromebook in their hands to use as a part of their instructional supplies, if they need internet, we build that into our plan as well, so that doesn't prevent them from using the device when they're at home. Of course, we'll continue with our general technology improvements, classroom refresh, etc. We'll continue purchasing new buses, as you well know. Our kids were very clear today. They like riding in air-conditioned buses when it's hot, and heated buses when it's cold. And so we'll continue. And as you well know, as buses get older, you have more and more problems, so we have to replenish the fleet and keep it as current as possible. And then, of course, we will be building our first district-wide early learning center in the Riverdale area. This will be a center for possibly students from the ages of 3 to grade 3. And it will have, we're working with the Clayton County Health Department. We want a WIC office, we want a doctor's office, we want a dental office. So a parent who has a child in our school system can bring the child to that one facility and get all the services that they need. We'll have a strong focus on brain-based literacy. We want to show the parents things that they can actually do that will help the child's brain develop so that they can be ready, reading hopefully by pre-K or kindergarten, if not reading, close to reading. And so that will be our district's first effort. You should know that right now we serve about 25% of kindergartners go to pre-K here in Clayton County. Another 25% go to private providers. So in our county, 50% of our kids do not go to pre-K. My goal is to get that down to 0. And so this early learning center is one step towards giving more kids access to pre-K. We do know, and we're working with the Right from the Start and others, because clearly their support will be important to this early learning center. But this year we increased the number of pre-K seats because of their support, and I anticipate with the new early learning center they'll be more than gracious to and excited to support the work that we're doing here in Clayton County Public Schools. And so as you can see, we have the referendum will give us a maximum collection amount of $280 million. It will begin in January of next year and end in December of 2024. Again, while we as staff in our official capacity cannot tell you how to vote, we can tell you this, that all of these things that we have identified as projects for SPLOST 6, they're predicated upon the passing of the referendum on March 19th. So if the referendum passes, then we can begin, as funds roll in, we can continue to work on these projects. But if the referendum fails, then all of the projects that we just described will not occur because there are no other funding options for capital improvement beyond SPLOST funds. Okay. So I think I have shared what I need to share, and so I'll pause here to see if you have any questions, feedback, comments, etc. at this time. Charles has the mic.
Beasley, I do. I have about 5. Just gotta bear with me. I love the advanced learning program, but I have a couple questions. Business owner, what will our failure look like in terms of those children? And I'm purposely, I want you to ignore that conversation, okay, for just a second. And I'm gonna go to, if remediation was such a big deal right now, which it is, based on scores, are we just going to abandon that process, move in a different direction? Because if those fundamental skills aren't mastered, then advanced skills won't be either, right?
Well, that's a good question, but it's a bit more complex than that. What we've noticed, because we're so remediation minded, we kind of dumb down, if you will, with low expectations. So let's say a kid is behind reading, their reading level 2 or 3 years. Oftentimes, what we're observing, and the data suggests this, that we're so remediation focused that that kid may not make no more than 6 months worth of progress after a whole school year. An acceleration focus where you're also providing support for the skills that they need, but you're also giving them something higher to reach toward. Kids can potentially grow a year, 2 years, even 3 years academically. And so it's really, it sounds like an easy conversation. Well, if you're remediating and they're not doing well, how are they going to do better if they're accelerating? It's all in the expectation, in that instructional experience of what you expect. And a more intense, a more supportive environment with higher expectations, it's amazing. The research says that they will make more progress. So let's say the kid is behind 3 years. In the current structure, by the end of the year, we may fix that by 6 months. We may get them up 6 months. With an acceleration mindset, not only will we possibly gain a year, we may improve the student closer to where they need to be 2 years or more. And so it's all in it. So it's not really a cut and dry or
Stop this and start that.
right. It's not that type of response. It's more complex than that. But it does speak to a lot of expectations that we have, and it also speaks to the opportunities for students to accelerate themselves as well by being in a more accelerated environment where kids are learning and they're thinking and they're doing, more engaging. It's just amazing how students, throughout expectations, they rise to expectations. I think part of our problem is we have such low expectations and we remediate, we kind of give ourselves and our kids that excuse out of that. And our data, what we're learning, is not really a reflection of what the students can do. It's really a reflection of our low expectations. And so it's a very complex question, and it requires some complex actions on our part. So it's part expectations, part what's being taught, part the resources, part the quality of the teacher, part the quality of the leader, part the quality of the superintendent, all of these things, the support provided by CIA. But I will say a lot of it right now is just low expectations. And we've got to move away from that. We've got to move away from having so many low expectations of students. For example, I grapple with this. Clayton County, I think you received a flyer where we were collecting data. Did you all get this? I want you to look at this flyer. I want you to locate the percent of college degrees. What percent do we have here in Clayton?
19.1.
Are we the lowest out of the, I compared us to the other large 5 districts. Okay? Look at the median income. So, this is how complex this is. I can, as a superintendent, take a status quo approach and think, well, we got a lot of low-income kids who come from low-income families, their parents don't have college degrees, so we're doing the best that we can do. And we may get a few kids in advanced placement, a few kids, or they may come to us not reading on grade level. I can take that approach and continue to do what we've been doing. I can assure you our data is not going to change much. It's going to continue to look like it is. Or I can step back from that approach that clearly is not working and work with very complex variables, teachers, principals, curriculum, etc., expectations, and take a different approach, which I have done in my experience and have always seen an acceleration of outcomes. See, if we look at our data, which I believe we have been doing, and we continue with, oh, our kids can't do that. Our kids don't need access to that. Oh, look at the type families they come from. I can assure you that's not the conversation being had in high-performing communities. So I'm ready, as a superintendent, I think we have a moral obligation to change that entire dynamic and move our entire community, not just a few of our kids who may have come from educated parents, but all of our kids to a different conversation, a different culture, a different environment, a different approach. Is it risky? Of course this is risky. But you want to keep do you want to keep getting the results that we've gotten? So this is why I need the community to let the superintendent have a little vision, take a little risk, and do something that I know, based upon my years of experience in improving teaching and learning outcomes, that will fundamentally shift our district in the direction of high performance. We can talk about remediation, we can talk about many variables, we can talk about why kids can't, why they're not prepared, and this, we can talk about many, and all of those things can be excuses. But at the end of the day, the question is, what are we going to fundamentally do differently to change the outcomes in Clayton County Public Schools? And I would suggest to all of us that our focus on advanced learning, based upon my experience in the research, is going to fundamentally shift the outcomes in this school system.
Now, to piggyback on that, how are we're at this county is at a point where leadership is now stabilized, and we're looking to do great things in terms of economic development, and I'm a big proponent of the fact that at your school system, so does your community. Great school system, great community. Therefore, you're bringing in businesses, you're bringing in families above and beyond what we've had in the past. This is a very robust vision that you have. Are you prepared? And how are you going to be prepared if it doesn't work?
Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you this. It will work.
It will work. Yeah.
It will work. Because let me tell you something. You're not going to bring in the type families that you want to bring in if you don't do this. I'm going to tell you that now. This will continue to be the community you go to if you can't get anywhere else. And so this changes that entire dynamic. It changes that entire dynamic. It creates a college-going culture, mindset in a community for whatever reason. Folk didn't have a college-going culture and mindset. I grant you, it's risky. And sometimes we're going where we've never been before. But you gotta go because we can't stay where we are. We just can't stay where we are. So I'll tell anybody, yeah, this is a big risk. But I'd rather take a risk doing what's good for children and moving them towards high expectations and improved outcomes than to stay in status quo, making all of us feel good with a few children succeeding and the majority of them not doing. Our data here, that you see here, it's just a reflection of low expectations for the majority of children. That's all this is. And I grant you that this will change over time significantly. Families will change. Income levels will change. And you say, you're taking a risk? Of course. But I think you hired me as a superintendent to take risks to move children to higher levels. You want a status quo superintendent? Probably better go find one. I am not the one. I always take risks to move children to higher levels of performance because our children deserve that. They do not deserve low expectations. They do not deserve. Some people say, well, some kids are not prepared. They don't. I've heard this word quite a bit. They don't have the ability. Who are you to say that a child doesn't have the ability? So we exclude them because you think or I think that they don't have the ability? No, we're not doing that. We're not following that model. That's why America is in the school systems are in the shape that they're in today because only some kids had the ability, but everybody else, somebody thought they couldn't for whatever reason, income level, color of skin, etc. You understand. We're moving away from that. That is not good enough. Will all kids end up making 100 or a 3, 4, 5 on AP? Probably not. But will they be better according to the research? That's why we're working with College Board. They said they will be better.
Are we still a 21st century district?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, you're going to look more like a 21st century district because right now you're still in the 19th century.
All right, last question. Typically, and it actually got beyond me, typically we have a community organization that heads up your SPLOS marketing, your SPLOS campaign. There is none, is there?
I hadn't heard of anyone.
And I talked to Dr. Smith, and he kind of reflected that same thing.
Yeah, that's not, the school system, we can't do that.
And I understand that, but I'm saying there's normally a group that takes the lead.
You've been here longer than I have, so is there?
No.
Okay.
I'm still here. Yeah. There has been in the past. We won't do it that year. And I know it's in a nice hour. Last thing. Yeah, totally independent.
It's totally independent of the districts, like any other special interest group that
Right.
works together to say, hey, this is what we want to do.
They personally raised money so that we would have mailers going out. You wouldn't have had to have these, but I think that this is a great thing because you create some buy-in.
Well, I'll say this.
Yeah.
We have communicated more than probably any administration.
Ever.
And so if anybody doesn't know, that's because they don't read or they don't want to what? They don't want to know. Now, we've done all that the law allows us to do. All we're asking is we met with the PTAs and the PTOs last night. They do what they do. Get the word out there. Hey, your role, you need to tell folk how to vote. But it's their decision on how to vote. But I think, and you'll see, the communications department, weekly, we're sending out this information. We're bombarding the various media outlets with the information. And so we had a conversation with students today. This room was full of students. They're having conversations with their peers, their parents. All I can tell you is what we're counting on is the community to get mobilized on March 19th, get out there and vote. If these things are important for our children, this community has to designate that or validate that with its vote.
I just wanted to say that what you were just reiterating about the community and public schools and kids and accelerating, I know one model program that is doing very well is Ron Clark Academy, because my grandson graduated from there. So in 5th grade, when he arrived there, he was learning 8th grade math. And so they was at the beginning, they was crazy with it. I didn't know how to do it, but by the time they finished, they knew what to do. So I'm real excited that all our children that are in elementary and middle school can excel from wherever we put the mark at, they can do it.
Yeah, and you should know, we have an example right here at Clayton County. You all heard of elite scholars. All the 6th graders there take accelerated math. They don't come from any special schools. They come from all the other elementary schools in the district. But there's an expectation when they get to elite that they take accelerated what? Consequently, they have some of the highest 6th grade math scores in not just the system, but in the state. And so we have models here. So my question is, if it's good enough for a few, why is it not good enough for all of them? It just takes leadership. Yes, it's a risk, but it's a risk that we don't mind taking because we're going to take that risk in such a way that's responsible, that is supportive of our children, and that raises the expectations, the instructional rigor, so that they can be successful. I can assure you this. If we shoot for 100% and we land at 80%, it's a whole lot better than 10%. And that's what I want people to understand. You will never significantly change your outcome if we keep doing what we're doing.
Okay, I'm not sure if this was already asked or if I missed the answer, but I see the pamphlet says the rising 6th, 8th, and 9th graders have to. Is it required for them to take AP classes? One, and I have a 11th grader. Will she be required to take AP classes? Is it required?
Well, you said it's required. It's the expectation. That's just what I want people to understand. It's the superintendent's expectation. Because what I'm trying to do is create a culture where our kids have higher expectations of themselves. And I need our parents to say, you know what, I support Dr. Beasley. I support because he knows that our children are competing against children who don't live in Clayton County, who don't live in America, who are doing this. And they're not debating about whether or not they will or they won't. They are actually what? And guess what? They're coming to America and they're taking... So I really want y'all to feel, to hear me. If we don't do something differently, guess what's going to be the highest income people in our communities? It won't be your children. It won't be my children. It'll be everybody else's children who have. And our children are going to be the ones opening doors, cleaning hotels. And I'm sorry, you got to work 3 or 4 of those jobs to get up to what some of these other folk are making on one job. Y'all hear me? And so I appreciate the question. It's great to have those questions. But what I really wanted for us to get beyond that. And I appreciate what you're saying. I'm not saying specifically you. I just want us to really understand what's at stake here. This expectation is so much bigger than where we are. Because what we're seeing in urban school systems around the nation, we have created this achievement gap. We are in a situation, and listen to me, where our immigrant students, our immigrants are coming here and they are earning the degrees. You know why? Because while we're struggling whether or not to put the kids, the native-born kids in AP and advanced learning or dual enrollment, guess what? They are. Think about it. And we got to change that. And I don't mind having that conversation. I want our immigrants to continue to do well, take nothing away from them. But I'm ready for these American students, these students of color right here, native born, to take full advantage of these opportunities. If not, you all, most jobs now will require some type of advanced learning. And if they don't have it, then we will basically assign these kids and their families to low-income jobs. And is that good enough for us? Is that acceptable? No, it isn't. It should never have been, and it never should be going forward. It's unacceptable. And so the question is, if you know to do something different to change your outcome, you need to do something what? Different. And I guess I just see it because I deal with this at a level that most people don't. As I deal with other school systems and superintendents and I see what's going on, I see a divide occur. I see a divide. It's often based on low expectations. We have low expectations for some. We have high expectations for others. And that is showing up in our educational levels, and it's showing up in our family median income levels. And it's showing up by racial group and economic. It's showing up, you all. And so we just can't. Isn't it amazing? I often ask people who are college educated about their children, did your child take AP? Yes. Did your child do dual enrollment? Yes. Educated folk. But then those same educated folk will say somebody else's child can't do it. We're not in that position. This administration will not take that approach. If someone decides that they will not, they don't want to do it, let them decide after they've had the opportunity to at least what? Try.
Good evening.
say what I said when I was here at the reception. I support what you're doing. I'm behind you 100%. My only concern is the speed that we're going, because the first time that I heard of the accelerated was February 2nd. You mentioned Hardcock Academy, great place, but they have staff that's prepared to teach the kids to move to the next level. Your plan is awesome. I have high expectations for Clayton County. But because even now, this school year here, we hear so many teachers who are bombarded, so I understand that they have a lot on their plate. But I also have a lot to say they just don't have time. We're going to a curriculum that's a little bit more tedious. I don't want a child who feel like they can do it to fail because a teacher don't have time. Will we have the staff prepared or 50% prepared when we start this next school year so we can take the kids to the next level and so we all can be supported? I'm all for trying it. But will we have the tools in place when the kids are struggling, as you stated on February 2nd, at least they will be struggling on a higher level. When they struggle, will we have the resources in place so we can direct the parents? I'm school council president, I'm parenting, to say, hey, they're having issues. I know it's a struggle. This is where you can go to get some help. That's all I want to know.
Well, that's a great question. We have those teachers in place today. The challenge is we've got to get more folk taking advantage of these resources. I mentioned National Math Science Initiative. Right now, our students who are taking advanced placement, they're getting, not only are teachers getting training to be better teachers of AP, but the students are getting the support and they're getting actual feedback. And we're seeing, based upon the feedback, that they're more likely to score at 3s on AP exams at 3, 4, 5 than they would have been prior to us providing the supports. So these supports will still be in place. More students will be expected to take full advantage of these supports. The teachers are getting the training. I can assure you that every year, you're going to see a more refined, engaging teacher in all of our classrooms and all of our buildings, because it's one thing, you heard the question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's so complex that oftentimes it takes a high expectation of parents and students to help refine us as educators. They help make us better educators. And so, do I wait until we become better educators, or do I go ahead and just ramp it up so it makes us to become better educators? It is so complex. It's been my experience that all of my teachers did better when I had parents that were putting fire on all of us. You understand? And this is going to create some fire. I understand you're concerned about the speed, but it really isn't that fast, because all we're doing is saying all of our 6th graders are going to do this next year. We're supporting and training the teachers to do that. We're even narrowing the content that they have to teach, because some of those standards they really don't need. Similarly, in the 9th grade, and then that expectation will matriculate with the students as they go from 9th to 10th grade. College Board worked with us to identify for a 9th grader what would be some of the best advanced placement courses for a 9th grader to take if they've never had exposure to advanced placement. And that's exactly, those are the courses that we're offering. So I anticipate our product, our students will get better and better every year. At the same token, we're going to also see some things on the back end. Because as these students matriculate through high school, you're going to see increases across the board, and you're going to see an increase in the number of our kids who are actually prepared and accepted to go to post-secondary options. Because the word is getting out, as I'm meeting with college presidents now, I'm telling them about what we're doing. They're telling their registrars, when you see a student from Clayton County Public Schools, we need you to give that student extra attention, get them accepted, and if you have extra funds, get them some extra funds so they can come to college.
Right.
See, those are all the things that are occurring at one time. So while I'm talking about advanced learning, you all sometimes don't see me when I'm away from this room meeting with college presidents, trying to convince them I need them to accept more of our kids into college. Or we're over at Atlanta Metro or Atlanta Tech, devising or creating a new program to help our kids prepare for dual enrollment. All of these things are working in concert. So your concerns are very real concerns, and we've discussed those, because I can assure you, we have those same concerns. But our plan addresses that, and we're building in the supports for teachers and students that we need to be prepared for. Will it be easy? It won't be. And I've never said that it would be easy. But will our students be better because of it? They will be. Dr. Lee?
Thank you, Dr. Beasley. And I was just going to say some of the specific things that we're doing to even support our principals. So we're training principals just on how to schedule appropriately for the students. So usually the teacher or principals may not receive a list of student scores until we administer the Georgia milestones. But because we have our readiness tools such as iReady Reading and Math, we've been able to give our principals a list of students' performance right now so that they can start strategically scheduling even for our grade 6 accelerated math course. So even though all students will be in accelerated math, will the classrooms be at the exact same place at the exact same time? No, they will not. Students will be strategically scheduled with teachers and based on their curriculum, based on a set of criteria, based on how they performed right now on their iReady Math assessment data. So that part, we're working with principals just on strategic scheduling. But at the end of the year, more students will be exposed to more of the 7th grade curriculum than they would have been if they were not in accelerated. But will all students be exposed to the exact amount of standards? No, that is not the case. Because we are working closely with Student Support Services, Dr. Nunez, her team. We're making sure that the IEP is still driving the services for our students. We're working with our ESOL department to make sure our students with language acquisition needs, that those needs are met. And so the idea is to make sure that our students are exposed to more than they would have been exposed to if they were just going to a regular 6th grade math class. And this summer, we're doing a summer bridge program. Dr. Beasley probably mentioned that, where we're hoping that our rising 6th graders and our rising 9th graders come to our summer program so that they can get front-loaded exposure to Unit 1. It's all about how do you manage your time, how do you study, and then what will be the content that you would need stepping into Unit 1 of the grade 6 accelerated math and then the 9th grade AP courses. And so there are a variety of supports. Today, we had 2 training webinars for our teachers. So every month, we're training online because the teachers are sharing that they can't always come to face-to-face trainings. So we're leveraging the digital tools to provide support. And then next year, our AP teachers, if they teach the science or a math or ELA course, they will have his or her own mentor, an expert AP teacher to provide just that ongoing support as well. And so, will it be perfect? No, it will not. As Dr. Beasley stated, we will not have 100% of our students on or above grade level. But over time, because of the expectations and the ongoing support, we will have more of our students prepared. And then just imagine our students seeing accelerated advanced placement on their roster, on their schedule. There's a confidence booster because for so long, so many of our students didn't get the access. And so we're hoping to expand the access, increase confidence, and increase our students' readiness for the next level.
So what we had to do, we had to really have these conversations and ask ourselves not why we shouldn't, but why we should. And it's a very complex conversation. The work is very complex. But you've got to know that you've got some very competent people here who are working with principals and teachers to do this very complex work. And while I don't know how to diagnose a person with Medically, I do know how to improve academic outcomes. And I can assure you, acceleration is one of the many tools that high-performing districts use to improve outcomes.
First of all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My son is at the new school that just opened up in January, which is KR Pace for the Arts. He's in first grade. With the county, I'm actually not from the state, I'm actually from New York. So looking at the new school, I like the school. He actually has the IEP in place with the student support services. And with that, and working closely with the teacher and the DES, his scores actually went up everything. He was like a low reader, but he's actually beating up to 84% accuracy with 25 words per minute. So I wanted to tell you, Dr. BC, I really appreciate you as far as coming into the county to kind of move the county into a right direction, because before you, I don't remember the name of the superintendent, but like Clayton County was always like low on the map when it comes to education. So I really wanted to appreciate you and your staff for like, not always, but you know. Right. Yeah, but not always. I've only been in this county for a few years, and my son is only in the first grade. But I really do appreciate you stepping up and trying to make the county go into the direction, into the 21st century, as far as the Chromebooks and all the necessary assets for these students to learn instead of at the average level, but to above level.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
We have something else. Right there. So we get her first.
Good evening, thank you. I'm really excited about the advanced learning. As a high achiever myself, there's no doubt that our markets definitely high achievers. I have two things to say. One, I do want to also offer a compliment. Now that this is my first year having a student in Clayton County as well, and the beginning of the year I didn't know what to expect, but I live here, so this is where my child is going to school. But I would say that Dr. William and his staff are awesome over there. They treat us all like family. I love that the kids are always excited. I'm very active in PTA, so I can volunteer a lot. I just absolutely love it there. I'm excited that my daughter is there and will be going there for the next few years because she's only in pre-K. But it seems like the temporary teacher's over, so that's great. But I just wanted to make sure that you heard from a parent that he and his team are doing awesome. Secondly, now one of my concerns after hearing what you said is, you know, we're getting the teachers on board, we're getting the principals on board, but how do we get the parents on board? There are, I mean, in my experience volunteering at school, there's a lot of things that we do, but there's a lot of parents who don't come. And I know life is complicated, I'm a working parent too, and everybody doesn't have flexible schedules. But how do we get our parents more engaged so that, you know, we're putting these kids in more rigorous learning environments? They need that support at home too.
That's a great question, and I'll tell you, that's one of the considerations. We had to disrupt the level of engagement in this county. And so I've got more conversations out of parents with this than I have with many other things. And so part of our strategy is to create those engaging, rigorous classrooms that will pull parents into, you know, what's really going on here. Do we wait? I don't think we can wait. I have the children 180 days a year. As an educator, I have a moral obligation to do with those children what I need to do based upon what I know they need to be prepared to be successful, regardless of whether or not their parents come to the school or not. We want their parents to come to the school, but I'll just tell you my philosophy. When I was a principal, and I have the same philosophy as a superintendent, whether the parent shows up or not, when the student is in my school, they're going to learn. And they're going to learn at very high levels. And that's exactly how we approach this work. we are seeing an engagement increase, and I anticipate it will continue to increase. But make no mistake, while some people believe they have to see the parent to provide the children the very best, that's not my philosophy. If I never see a parent, that child will always get the very best in my school or in my school system. And that's what we have to do. Yes, we want to see more parents engaged, but I will not use that as an excuse to move all children to higher levels. I can't wait for them to show up at a meeting. I have the children 180 days out of the year. They're going to get a whole lot more than 180 days worth of instruction. And so, good point. Glad to hear Unidos is doing well. I'll tell you one of the strategies that they use at Unidos, which is one of our higher performing schools, and I should remind you within the 3 years that I've been here, is acceleration. And so, why? Is it good enough for Unidos? Is it good enough for elite scholars? It's got to be good enough for all kids, not just those who happen to get through a lottery and land at elite in Unidos. Thank you. Hang on in here. You'll enjoy that school for the next few years. Good afternoon.
My question was for, will there be any kind of online CP for the accelerated, for parents who want to see it and want to prepare their students, along with the students that are coming, that we want to provide that at-home summer enrichment to prepare our students?
I think she was saying like some type of resource for parents to learn about what the students are actually going to be learning.
Yes.
So you can support the students.
So part of our,
Just to be proactive.
part of our planning for supporting the students is the use of our Google Classroom. And so parents can have access to the Google Classroom, which will basically include the learning that students are engaged with. Also with tips on how to support at home based on the content. And so our goal is to keep it updated by unit so that you can see ahead of time what students will be expected to learn or prior to their introduction to the unit. That was actually an idea that came out of one of our superintendent meetings with maximizing the use of Google Classroom.
But just remember this as a parent, and this is our expectation. While we love for parents to be able to know the content, that's like you expecting your children to know everything the doctor knows. We expect the students to work with their teachers. And so we want parents, if you can just provide that environment, that expectation, that support, remember the teacher is that content person. And that student has access every day to that teacher. And so you communicating with the teacher is going to be critical. You know, how they're doing. But providing students that environment, that expectation. Studying is very important. Going to tutoring if they have to is what? Very important. Recognizing when they are struggling and interacting with the teacher is very what? Very important. Those things will continue to occur. They'll just occur at a higher level. And that's okay. But you as a parent being encouraging, supportive, communicating with the teacher, holding the student accountable for doing what they should do, that's what we're trying to do. And if you really look at it, if you step back and look at what we're trying to do, we're trying to create in Clayton County an academic culture. A culture that tells that basically speaks to our children that we have high expectations of you. You are going somewhere, where it is, and when you get there, you're going to do well. You're going to do well. That you'll look at your peers that are there, and you'll see that you're just as prepared or even more prepared than they are to do well. Just, again, changing that narrative, changing that story for our children.
So on the brochure, you all, there are a few tips for success for our students as they're advancing to accelerated or AP courses. And really, Dr. Beasley just mentioned a couple of them here, but ensuring our students have that study time. So even if there is not assigned homework, which most likely there will be, students should get in the habit of always reviewing their notes and reading over the content from the day of, as well as the content for the next day. You also see a management system. Students need to be organized. And I know some of our high school students may have have part-time jobs, but they will need to have their system in place that all their materials and proper notebook, if they have online, just using those online folders, but having that in place. Access with the computer, Wi-Fi, and then we will share with them practice websites. So College Board, they provide practice tests, practice tools, our Khan Academy. Our students, as they evolve and being self-regulated learners, we want them to have that regular interaction with the digital tools, but also in the habit of looking over their material and preparing for the next day of learning. So just these tips are some ways that College Board, as well as the National Math and Science Institute, have shown that kids have been successful in the programs.
Any other questions?
Just have a statement, and thank you guys so much. I just want to say thank you to you for being such an awesome leader, and thanks to all of your staff. You guys are very engaging. To have these type of conversations, this is going to move us further along in this process. And you were talking about the culture change. It has to be a culture change. You know, the whole paradigm shift has to shift. You know, and not for us to be afraid to push our students further. You know, for my husband and I, last year was our son's first time taking an AP class. He wanted to get out of that class. I mean, he just fought us, and he even went to his counselor and said, you know, I want to change class. Ms. Lewis said, well, let me call your parents. No, and he ended up doing excellent in that class. You know, because one thing, he had never even seen the AP Lounge at Forest Park High School. So we exposed him to that. It's about exposure. We have to take our kids and expect our kids to do better. You know, if we push them, they'll do better. Kids, we don't give them enough credit. Exactly. You know, they'll reach those heights if we push them. And we have to push our kids. You know, as a community, we have to push our kids. We have to expect them to do better. You know, and with this expectation thing, this is a vision. And you're showing us your vision. So you know what, guys? We have to run with it. You know, I'm the PTSA president at Forest Park High School. They told us that, you know, we couldn't do this or do that. We have been national PTA for 2 years in a row. But you telling us we can't do something? No, we can do it. And we will do it. So we're behind you 100%. Yeah, we're working parents as well. But you know what? We have to push and we expect our children to push. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And as we close, I'll just share, I had a question. One of the principals, they wanted to know, well, what if a student, a parent, a teacher, the principal, you know, decide that the child just shouldn't do something? I said, well, are you okay with that? I said, why are you asking me, am I okay? You said the parent, the teacher, the student, and the principal. If you all made a decision, I'm sure, hopefully, you made a decision that's in the best interest of the who? Of the child. Remember, the goal is to get to 100%. But if we land at 80%, I mean, no, we're still better. Without the vision, without the expectations, we won't even get there. And so we got to shoot forward. And even like you mentioned your son, I like to create a school system where it's so cool to be an advanced placement that they wouldn't even come to ask you if they can get out. As a matter of fact, I don't want kids to be mad if they're not getting in it. And so the work that we're doing, and that's why I'm loving these conversations, because what we're doing, you all, is such a significant shift for urban schools and school systems in America. Honestly, Clayton County is creating a model that I believe is being and will continue to be embraced by leaders across the district who are positioned to impact the learning of children like the children here in Clayton County Public Schools. Again, it won't be perfect. We've got a lot of work to do. Teacher quality, leader quality has to continue to improve. But are we committed to ensuring that that occurs? Yes, we are. Why? Because our children deserve no less. No less. No less. And honestly, as a community, it's just time to have a different conversation. It's time to have a different expectation for our children. Why? Because our children don't live in a vacuum. They've got to compete for the same jobs as children who come from other neighborhoods, other counties, who honestly, they had this conversation years ago. And they're not having this conversation. Why? Because it's already the expectation that their children do certain things. Why? Because they already know the benefit of it. I was at a staff development at the Partnership for Education, Excellence in Education, and a former president of the University of West Georgia. He's an Indian guy. He basically shared with all of us, he said, his children, he mentioned one is a doctor, one is this, one is that. He said his children have all excelled because it was a part of the Indian culture to expect their children to do that. And he basically shared, we've got to have higher expectations of our American children. He basically shared that to all of us Americans sitting in the classroom. He said, he basically shared, you know why immigrants, right now, the immigrants that come, we've got immigrants from Africa. Some of them are the most educated. It's not because they had so good in Africa, but they understood the value of what? Education. And they're pushing themselves and their children to get a what? Education. And maybe just because we're American, we take a lot of things for granted. But I think that may hurt us long term. Because if we look up and we see that all the high income jobs are held by everybody but our children, I mean, no, we have served our children very well. And I'm not saying everybody's going to get a college degree and go to college. But guess what? You can be a plumber and earn a 6-degree salary. So I need you trained if that's what you want to do to be a what? You can be a welder and earn a 6-degree salary. Y'all hear what I'm saying? The point is we got to get our children trained to participate in this global economy. Remember this as I close. A lot of jobs today that require people to do because of technology, eventually those jobs are going to do what? Disappear. If our children are not trained in the demand areas of math and science and engineering, and I'm concerned about what's going to happen to them because the technology is not going to decelerate, it's going to accelerate. It's going to take away more and more jobs. So my question is, what will happen to our children if we don't get them trained in these STEM areas? Think about that. What will happen to our community if we don't get our children trained in these jobs that require high technical skills? What will happen? I can assure you this, you want more restaurants in this community? They're not coming if the household incomes don't increase, because what do people need in order to go to nice restaurants? Money. It's all related, and I don't know if people are used to having this conversation, but these are the type of conversations we better have if we're going to change outcomes in this community, in this metro area for our children in this state, in this nation. Across the nation, we better be having it. And this conversation, I'm not just talking about for black and brown. This is for white children everywhere. American children are in crisis. They will not pursue education in certain careers. But in India, their whole system is set up to produce STEM graduates. Why do you think a lot of our doctors and lawyers come from India? There you go. Engineers, where do you think they come from? Y'all, come on, you all. We're not taking anything away from them, but we better recognize. You all saw what happened in New York with Google, right? Let me tell you why that community pushed back. Because the jobs that Google would have brought to that community would have fundamentally changed the community. Those were 6-digit salary jobs. And the sad thing, a lot of the people in the community are probably not prepared to take those jobs. Others would have come into the community, and guess what? It would eventually gentrify the entire community and push them where? Out. That's what I'm telling you all. And so we got to get our kids prepared. I'm not saying everybody has to have a degree in STEM, but I don't know of an area that is not impacted by STEM. Therefore, we need our kids to be thinking STEM. Does that make sense, everybody? Thank you for your support. Walk with us on the journey, and we'll keep you posted. I'll let you know what headaches I have from day to day.